All righty, welcome back, everyone. Thank you. Thanks for sticking with us. All right, so the next item that we need to talk about is, as a commission here, is whether we want to just forge ahead and kind of talk through what we liked, what we didn't with these firms right here, right now, or we can decide if there's some more stuff we need to do. There is an option for closed session. However, Mr. Robinson will not be able to join us in closed session based on our council rules. So if anybody has any thoughts here.
Do we have to make a decision tonight?
Well, I guess that's something we can talk about, or is there, would we like to sit on this and think a little bit more? I'm seeing some head nods. I'm seeing two. I mean.
Well, the first thing I would like to do is review what we want this firm or this organization that we may or may not hire, what we want that group to do for us.
Right.
And, is it a peer review? Is it a turnkey design construct project, a contract? Or is it something else? We have an engineering firm in place, and they're working with us on the treatment plant itself. They're also involved in the pilot study. So I just want to kind of sort out if we were to hire another firm, what we want them to do.
Okay. I'm willing to entertain any more discussion related to that. I saw some head nodding online.
Well, this was, if I could,
Yes, Mr. Robinson, please.
this was kind of my idea, and it was kind of the value engineering, and given the fact that Donahue didn't have experience with PFAS and the emerging nature of the treatments and other things, I thought it was worthwhile to just look at how we could get someone to help guide our efforts and shape it and comment on it. I share Jim's concern that I'm not sure that I'm ready to make a decision tonight. I think, the issue of our expectations, I think we were looking for somebody that had a little bit more regulatory involvement in the PFAS-related treatment and design, and to see how they could blend in with our team and sort of shape the city's response in an effort to accelerate it. I am concerned that I'd like to try to get our system on board before the new treatment plant is up and operational. And I think that we could benefit from a third party providing some of their expertise and in helping us meet that goal.
Yep. Mr. Jean?
Well, I worked all day yesterday at the poll, so I'm about ready to fall asleep, so.
Yes. So
I think just delaying this would be the right thing, and I think it's important that we review this as a full body. I'd like to have John in person, so.
okay. Mr. Force?
And I would agree, but again, back to my original point, I would like to be very clear on what we want this firm to do for us, because, and I think all the presentations were very, very good, but I saw in them different strengths and different directions.
Yeah.
Some had strong regulatory experience, others had great funding ideas. There were ideas regarding treatment and pretreatment and residuals management. So there's a range of abilities and talents that we have to pick from. And I'd like to know what we're really looking for to go with our existing engineering firm and our existing design and our existing plant, our existing facility design, before I make a decision on which firm I think fits that particular model.
So are you asking to have a conversation about the criteria, our judging criteria right now, or are you asking for maybe?
We can do that now,
Okay.
as long as it's not too lengthy in view of the hour. I didn't bring my pillow.
Nope. So I guess some of the things, maybe I'll just kick us off then. Some of the things that kind of caught my attention were both the experience as it relates to Wisconsin PFAS removals. I was drawn in by some of the folks talking about similar water quality issues. I thought that was important. I appreciated the discussion about the regulatory negotiations. Each firm kind of put it in a different way, whether or not it was partnering, negotiations, kind of just making sure we're following a speedy trajectory. I also appreciated I think there was one that brought up the lower cost solutions and cost effective solutions. I think that's important to our taxpayers and ratepayers, but I'm willing to keep listening. What else do we care about? Mr. Robinson.
Well, I just had, their experience, their approach to the project, the whole issue of life cycle analysis, residuals management, the funding. I think that experience in the regulatory framework of Wisconsin is important. Those would be some of the criteria that I would want to look at. And maybe what we want to do is prepare a matrix, and then so we're all working on the same page, and then look at it and come back in a few days.
Does this body feel okay if maybe we, staff, city folk, maybe created that matrix?
Staff can certainly put together a matrix for the commissioners. We can pass that out and get comments back, additions, edits, whatever that is, and that would be a great basis for us to start. And then from that, maybe a meeting.
Yep.
Just
Pretty quick?
specifically. Yeah, okay.
Does that sound good to everybody? Do we need yeah, Mr. Jean?
Well, I think we should talk to our current consultants too and understand what they have. I think they've gained some information already, and
I saw the note-taking happening.
and I think it would be important for us to understand their view at this point in time of their pilot work, and so that we meld this together with the right firm if we're going to go ahead with peer review or some assistance of technology.
I think that can be part of our matrix, maybe, if that makes sense, if everyone agrees to that. Okay. Is there anything else? I don't know that we need to make a motion on this other than we want to come back to. Oh, go ahead.
Pick a date? Could we pick a date
Sure.
to come back?
Do we have a date in mind?
I would hope within,
2 weeks?
yeah, I would say a max of 2 weeks.
Okay.
Certainly not waiting for the next monthly meeting.
Okay, I concur with that.
I'm free any day, any evening next week.
Wow, I don't know how that happened. Okay, looks like next week, some evening, we'll make it happen. Maybe we'll just send an email out and make sure it works for everyone. Okay. Otherwise, we're looking on our phones here, so, okay. All right, we will send out a notification of, get everyone on board with a meeting date, and we will have criteria, we will discuss this, and we'll make a decision. Sound good?
Is the commission okay with like a day meeting, or John, is the evenings are the open times for you?
No, actually, I'm pretty free Monday, Thursday, and Friday
Okay.
next week, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think day meeting is fine.
Okay.
Sure.
And due to the fact that we're not getting a lot of citizen involvement in the evening meetings anyway.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, that sounds good to me. Are we good to move on? Alrighty, so we are now on item number 6. Discussion and possible action on supplementing the sale of rain barrels in 2022 and establishing a memorandum of understanding again with Rainwater Solutions, Inc. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thanks, everyone. Appreciate it. So,
I move we do basically the same program that we did last year with the same vendor and the same process.
All right, we got a motion for more of the same. A second by, second by everybody. Any more discussion on this? I know that people have stopped me at the farmer's market and everywhere asking if we're doing this again, so there is some excitement. Mr. Jean.
Did we charge anything, or was Oh, okay, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I think there needs to be an investment on their side.
Yep. I can't remember the price, but
It was around $70, wasn't it?
Yeah, for the residents.
Right.
ah,
Yeah, they had to pay directly to
Rainwater
Rainwater
Yep.
Solutions.
Yep.
Yeah, it wasn't a freebie.
okay, so we got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Otherwise, all in favor of implementing the same rain barrel program that we did last year, again this year, can signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously, thanks. All right, next up, item number 7, discussion and possible action on increasing the funding amount for lead line services on the homeowner side. Who wants to take it?
Well, let's go take this one.
Okay. We have been awarded $450,000 for the private side lead service line replacement program. As of, well, like everything else these days, costs are going up. We have been asked by a couple plumbers if there was any thought to increasing our funding amount for the private homeowner side. Concerns on our end would be that the plumbers are going to raise their prices. Anything over and above our funding amounts are going to go to residents. Residents having to provide more cost is going to deter replacements. So we're just asking if there's any interest from the commission to adjust our payment schedule for the funding.
So Scott, let me understand. The ask for more funding is coming from the plumbers.
They were considering, or I guess I shouldn't say, they were just concerned. They were just asking, is there going to be more funds available to homeowners?
And where would those come from? Out of our pocket?
They would come from the state, principal forgiveness loan that we're getting from the state. So it's the grant from the state that we're just passing on to customers.
So let me get this straight. So they would increase that to us if we ask them?
They would not increase the overall funding amount, but we can increase the amount that we're allotting each resident. So right now, we have it set at $3,000 for construction projects and for,
Okay. I understand.
so we could raise those up to just reduce the cost on the homeowners for their lead side replacements.
Mr. Robinson.
So Scott, when we set that $3,000, what was the average cost on the homeowner side?
When we set that cost, initially when we started this program, we started out at $1,500, and we had like 2 people that actually responded and used the funds. So then at that time, we increased it to $3,000, and we did get some
Remember-
interest.
When was that?
2016, I think, was our first year.
So our costs are going up, we know that costs have gone up. Are we trying to target a percent, or are we just trying to incentivize?
I just think we're trying to incentivize. I mean, truthfully, the plumbers are gonna probably increase their pricing to what any increases that we show. But they do need some incentive to continue to do the work, especially with staff shortages, employee costs going up. They're struggling to find workers as well. Sometimes it's more lucrative to do construction jobs or internal plumbing or building projects over doing these outside replacements.
So what recommendation would you have?
I-
1,000?
I would go at least 1,000, maybe even 2 for each of the sections. So raise it from 3 to 4, and then from 5 to 6, or from 3 to 5 and from 5 to 7.
What do you mean by the 2 sections?
So for our past construction projects, if we get through our past practice and the priority list that we have established
Right.
here, if we get through our construction projects without using the funding, we've been going to past projects. And because there's extra concrete costs,
Yeah.
we had the extra money associated with that.
My recollection probably isn't accurate, but it seemed like we had something like 90 replacements, and our funding was 350,000, 380,000. So that worked out to about, round numbers, 4,000 per It was about 4.
Correct.
So 3 is only covering 3/4 of it. Okay.
Any more discussion, or do we have a motion?
I move we take Scott's recommendation, go from 3 to 4 and from 5 to 6 on the homeowner reimbursement.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second? I have a second from Herbst. Any discussion on this? Okay, otherwise, I'll read this correctly. All of those in favor of increasing the funding amount for lead service lines on the homeowner's side from 3,000 to 4,000 and then 5,000 to 6,000 can signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
All right, that passes unanimously. Thank you very much. We are moving along. Item number 8, discussion and possible action on future bottling of Northwoods Mist. Who'd like to take it?
Scott?
Scott. Sorry, I'm slipping here a little bit.
We all are.
We called to schedule our bottling from Twiggs Beverage in Shawano, and they informed us that they are no longer co-packing for outside water sources. We did a quick search online and through a phone book, did not find any co-packers in the area that would be willing to do that. I don't think with the discussions we've had in the last couple of years with the plastic bottles and the water bottling that we really wanted to reach out and travel with our water to get it bottled. So now seems to be a good time to discontinue that practice, and that bringing it here and asking for discontinuance is just making it official.
All right.
I move we suspend the program.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Mr. Jean? Oh, yep, Robinson seconded, or, well, he moved, but I chose it as the second.
I did.
Yep. Any discussion on this? Seems like the right move to me. All right, all of those in favor of discontinuing the bottling of Northwoods Mist can signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you very much. We're on number 9 now. Discussion and possible action on sole source purchase of polymer for the gravity belt thickener and belt filter press.
Ben?
All right, Ben.
Delegating tonight.
So we're seeking wastewater seeking authorization to sole source the 2 polymers stated in the sole source form. The 2 polymers listed are formulas specifically for the new belt filter press and the new gravity belt thickener. New equipment means new run times, train time, and these polymers were chosen to meet the performance testing requirements. Moving forward, these 2 processes will feed the new dryer that is scheduled for startup next week. Veolia will be on site. So it'd be the staff recommendation to sole source these 2 polymers for a minimum of 365 days to standardize that new equipment and so we can optimize it accordingly.
I would make one note in there as well that the request also is for the option to renew for a second year as based on review of prices by staff.
Okay. Mr. Jean?
I'll move to accept staff's recommendation, but I will also note that we do buy polymer now, so I don't know, I don't think we have that kind of money in our budget, or have you prepared for that for this year?
We should be, I don't know the exact budget.
Okay.
But the operating budget should be fine. Yep.
All right, we have a motion to approve the sole source purchase of the gravity belt thickener and belt filter press, and a second by Herbst. Any further discussion on this item? Okay, all of those in favor of approving the sole source purchase of polymer for the gravity belt thickener and the belt filter press can signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. We're now on to item 10, discussion and possible action on sole source purchase of an emergency bypass pump system. All right, you're up. You're up again.
Once again, we're seeking authorization to move forward with the process of purchasing or procuring an emergency bypass pump. This pump would be used for emergency bypassing of lift stations, gravity sewer lines, and maintenance at the treatment plant while draining or transferring processed liquids. Currently, we do not have one of these pumps of this size. It's a 6-inch pump the capacity is much larger than what we do have. There's two manufacturers that we're familiar with, one local, the other is a reputable name. As you can see, there's two price differences. The one which we were recommending has a much greater turn down rate. We were able to, if we need to turn it down at lower flows than that to contain certain situations, we're able to do so with that. And it's local, spare parts are readily available, designed for quieter operations, and it has a special non-clog impeller design with replaceable wear plates instead of costly full casting replacements. Meets the Tier 4 emissions controls without large scrubbers attached, smaller compact design overall.
Any questions or comments, or maybe a motion? Mr. Robinson?
So where does this fit into our procurement? Oh, you've got two quotes right now, is that correct?
Yes.
So we requested quotes, so it's really not a sole source. I'm not real comfortable about always taking things through sole source. Have we met from a quote perspective, our normal procurement policies? And if we have, why can't we advance it that way?
Yeah,
With the low
in
quality
this
quote.
situation, we didn't, because we didn't go out for bid, a closed bid process, so anything over $25,000 would require us to go out to bid. But the time and effort it would take to write specifications for all the fittings, everything that we needed, versus just working directly with a couple different vendors. So these are considered quotes versus a bid, so the procurement policy requires us to run a sole source.
The county just went through and redid their procurement policy to update some of the numbers in light of that. We might want to take a look at that. I don't like to always use, again, sole sourcing. If we can go with quotes and other things as we've done here. It just makes it look like we're playing favorites from a policy perspective. So I would, Eric, maybe direct you to look at the county's procurement code. You can get that through the Corporation Council. Maybe I can ask Mike to send that to Ann.
So maybe one of the options, am I allowed to speak?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I was thinking that perhaps to clarify the motion rather than adopting the sole source could be to modify the procurement to the quote, to the quotes obtained given the need to develop special product and accept, the lowest quote or, whichever was the preferable vendor at that point, to acknowledge that, there was an actual search at multiple products. Does that seem appropriate?
Seeing nodding. Mr. Force?
How urgent is this need, Ben?
Can you turn your mic on, please? Thank you.
There's an item that was been on the list for several years that was never purchased.
Okay.
And that was one of the first things that was brought to me, that the need for this.
Okay, so there is a need. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Any motions?
I move we accept the recommendation of the local pump supplier. Is that your recommendation? And was that the lower cost?
Yes, that would be my recommendation.
All right, we
Staff.
have a motion. Anyone with this? We have a second by Mr. Jean. Any further discussion? Mr.
Is
Robinson?
inherent in that the low quote received out of the two?
Yes.
Is that good? Okay.
Yep.
Yep. Any further discussion? All right, all of those in favor of the local lowest cost sole source purchase of an emergency bypass pump system can signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Alrighty, that passes unanimously. All right, next up, item number 11. Discussion and possible action on consent to termination of the redevelopment agreement by and between the redevelopment authority of the city of Wausau, Wisconsin and Wausau joint venture. Don't know who wants to maybe hit that one. Yes, our city attorney Will has been waiting patiently and learning all about PFAS too. And is excited to hear about procurement.
And I was here last night until 11:15 counting absentee ballots.
Well,
And
we're
have
going
to be
home
at the
early
courthouse at 8 for a jury trial, so I'm ready to fall asleep too. Number 11 is a formality, basically, the successors to the parties in interest here, which was originally the Redevelopment Authority, then the Community Development Authority, and then they, in 2011, conveyed the Wausau Downtown Mall to the city of Wausau. Wausau Joint Venture is now basically turned into WAS, or Wausau Opportunity Zone, and the parties have agreed as conditions contained in the Second Amendment to our development agreement with WAS that we will terminate the original redevelopment plan or repeal that and then terminate the original redevelopment agreement. Both actions which will have to be taken by the now Community Development Authority, but with all the pages I pulled out and put in your packet, because it was 100-some pages, you saw a consent and joinder page where the parking utility, the water utility, the transit, Wausau Area Transit System, Inc., and Community Development Authority all joined in the redevelopment agreement. And so one of the conditions before we can approve the Second Amendment through council is to get these four bodies to approve to join again in the consent and joinder to terminate the original redevelopment plan. So we just need formal approval from all of these bodies to do that.
I see a pointer finger from Mr. Robinson.
Can we make this, can we do the repeal contingent upon the second agreement being in place?
Well, the Second Amendment says that it's not, I think, not in place until it's contingent upon us obtaining all of these approvals in advance. So that's why we're seeking them all before the council term ends on April 12th.
So does the city run any exposure by if we repeal all these agreements and plans and don't have a second agreement being left out?
I suppose you would, but I don't think that's going to happen, that the Second Amendment isn't going to get approved because it contains too many other provisions, straightening out legal descriptions and boundaries and easements. There were many, many other reasons to have the Second Amendment in place to the development agreement to redevelop the mall site. So the chances of it not getting approved are slim.
Well, I would then move to repeal the 1979 redevelopment plan and terminate the 1979 redevelopment agreement.
Well, not both. It's only to terminate the redevelopment agreement. Only the Community Development Authority joined or has to do both. They have to repeal the redevelopment plan, but nobody else joined in the redevelopment plan, only the redevelopment agreement. So
Right,
just
then I
as
would make
exactly
that-
it's
make that
worded
motion.
there.
So to terminate the 1979 redevelopment agreement.
Correct.
All right, we have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. Any further discussion? Yeah, Mr. Jean.
I don't remember that we did that, but I'm sure we did. So let's move on.
Okay, all of those in favor of terminating the redevelopment agreement by and between the redevelopment authority and the city of Wausau, Wisconsin, and Wausau joint venture can signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposition? All right, that passes unanimously.
you.
Thank you.
Joe just think Dave Fleck.
Well, that's correct, but I don't remember it going before the utility.
Yeah, Mr. Jean.
I know we're really late, but can we go back to the director's report for just 1 minute?
I'm looking at my parliamentarian and she's looking at me. Okay.
Go ahead.
All right, I'm not seeing any objection, so feel free for
Okay,
30
now-
seconds.
I talked to Mr. Brooks at the break, and he wanted to make some comment, and I'd like him to do that right now. He came from Medford, and he wanted to talk briefly about what we should, his thoughts of what we should do to help us with staff. I think that's how you characterize it.
Well, I don't know if it'll help, but I'll just make a suggestion. Just so everybody's aware, a lot of you are aware that the water and wastewater positions both require skilled trades that require skilled, educated employees. And to maintain and attract the employees we have, or any future employees, I think that the City of Wausau should remain competitive in the wage and benefit areas to attract these new employees, and that City of Wausau should have the desire for and the need for that, for the competent and educated people. State certified, both Scott and I have certifications, and other operators do within the both facilities, utilities. So I just would suggest that the City of Wausau remain competitive, or try to be more competitive with the current market than that.
Great. Thank you. The last item on our agenda is item 12, discussion on future meeting and dates and times. I think we discussed it already. Check your email. We're going to get together again. I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Herbst, second by Jean. All in favor, can signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, we're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.